Imagine waking up one morning to the news. A hacker didn't just steal money, didn't just take down a bank or a government system, but altered the DNA code of a crop that feeds millions of people. Or worse, inserted a malicious sequence into a medical database so that the next life-saving gene therapy becomes a life-ending one. This is not science fiction. This is the emerging nightmare of cyberbiosecurity, a field where biology, AI, and hacking collide. Why this matters? We've entered an age where DNA is digital. Genetic sequences, the code of life itself, are stored, edited, and transmitted through computers. Scientists already print DNA strands like documents using automated machines. And like any digital system, these machines can be hacked. In 2017, researchers at the University of Washington embedded malware into a strand of DNA. When the DNA was read by a sequencing computer, it exploited a vulnerability in the software, proving that biological samples could literally carry cyber attacks. Think about that. Life itself becoming a Trojan horse. The growing risk. The global bioeconomy, from agriculture to medicine, depends more and more on digitized biology. Labs use cloud platforms to design DNA. Companies outsource gene synthesis to third-party providers. Hospitals rely on genomic data for personalized treatments. Every one of these points is a potential entry for hackers. And here's the chilling part. Unlike stolen credit cards or social media accounts, hacked DNA doesn't just affect information. It affects living beings. So when we talk about apocalypses, we often think of asteroids, black holes, or climate change. But perhaps the most silent and insidious apocalypse could come from inside our own code, biological and digital, fused into one. In the next section, Chapter 2, What is Cyberbiosecurity? We'll break down how this field emerged, why scientists are sounding the alarm, and what real-world threats already exist. To understand the threat, we need to understand the word itself, cyberbiosecurity. It sounds like science fiction jargon, but in reality, it's a young, growing discipline that sits at the intersection of three powerful domains. Cybersecurity, protecting digital systems from hacking. Biosecurity, protecting biological materials from misuse. Synthetic biology, reprogramming life itself like computer code. Combine these three, and you get a discipline that asks, what happens when hackers target biology through digital means? 1. Why cyberbiosecurity emerged. 20 years ago, this field didn't exist. Why? Because biology wasn't digital. Scientists worked with test tubes, petri dishes, and microscopes. DNA sequencing was rare, expensive, and slow. But today, biology has gone digital. Genomes are stored in cloud servers. DNA editing instructions are emailed to automated printers. CRISPR kits can be ordered online. AI is being trained to design new proteins and organisms. The line between biology and information technology has blurred. And whenever that happens, hackers follow. 2. Real-world examples. Let me give you some shocking cases that illustrate the risk. DNA malware. 2017 researchers encoded malicious computer code into a strand of DNA. When a sequencing machine read it, the code hijacked the system, proving that biological samples themselves could carry cyber attacks. Synthetic gene orders. Many labs outsource gene synthesis. In 2010, researchers showed that DNA fragments ordered from suppliers could potentially be stitched into dangerous pathogens, unless strict digital screening was applied. AI designed Toxins. 2022, a study demonstrated that by flipping the goals of an AI drug discovery model, the system could instantly generate 40,000 toxic molecules, many resembling nerve agents. All it took was a change of prompt. Each of these examples isn't just theory. They're proof that the fusion of biology and computing can open doors to catastrophic misuse. 3. Why matters now? Here's why cyberbiosecurity has become urgent in the 2020s. Falling costs. Sequencing and gene editing are cheaper than ever. Moore's Law applies to biology now. Global connectivity. Labs across the world are connected by cloud platforms. A hacker in one country could potentially disrupt biology in another. Weaponization potential. Unlike financial hacks, biohacks affect life itself. Crops, livestock, humans, ecosystems. The U.S. national academies, the European Union, and even the World Health Organization have started issuing warnings. This isn't sci-fi. This is policy-level concern. 4. The broader definition. So in plain terms, cyberbiosecurity means protecting the digital bio interface, ensuring that as we digitize life, we don't open the door to hackers, accidents, or worse. It is about defending the code of life as fiercely as we defend the code of our computers. If we fail to secure this new frontier, the next cyber attack may not just crash your computer. It may rewrite the world around you. Next, in Chapter 3, Scenarios of Doom, we'll explore what could actually happen if cyberbiosecurity fails, from hacked crops to engineered pandemics to AI-guided digital plagues. Up to now, we've defined cyberbiosecurity and seen why it matters. But what would failure actually look like? Let's walk through the doomsday scenarios, not from Hollywood, but from the labs, headlines, and research papers shaping this field today. 1. Hack crops, the food apocalypse. Imagine a hacker infiltrating the digital design files of genetically modified seeds. A tweak to the DNA code makes crops grow normally until harvest. Then, a hidden genetic kill switch triggers, wiping out entire yields. Now scale that to wheat in India, corn in the US, or rice in Asia. A single line of malicious code could crash food security for billions. This isn't far-fetched. In 2020, the US FBI openly warned about foreign adversaries targeting agricultural biodata systems. 2. Engineered pandemics. Now, imagine the same concept but applied to pathogens. A cyber attack injects malicious code into a DNA synthesis company's database. Instead of shipping harmless gene fragments for research, the machines quietly assemble sequences resembling deadly viruses. In 2002, researchers at SUNY Stony Brook already reconstructed the poliovirus from scratch, using mail-order DNA fragments. That was 20 years ago. Today, with CRISPR and AI tools, such reconstructions are faster, cheaper, and scarier. Now combine that with malware, and you have the blueprint for a digital-triggered pandemic. 3. AI weaponized biology. In 2022, a drug discovery AI model was deliberately flipped to design toxins. Within hours, it generated 40,000 lethal molecules, including VX-like compounds, some deadlier than anything known. Now imagine hackers breaching cloud-based bio-AI systems. Instead of cures, the AI pumps out recipes for bioweapons, shared instantly, globally. That's not a movie script. That's a peer-reviewed paper published as a warning. 4. DNA as a Trojan horse. Here's the creepiest scenario. Biological samples themselves could carry malware. As proven in 2017, malicious code can be encoded into DNA strands. When sequencing machines read the sample, they execute the embedded code, hijacking the system. Imagine a sample sent to a hospital lab that silently installs ransomware on medical servers, or a fake patient swab that infects a national health database. The enemy could literally arrive in the mail. 5. The silent takeover. Here's the most subtle and perhaps most dangerous scenario. Instead of one catastrophic event, imagine small, hidden alterations. Crops that lose yield slowly. Livestock engineered with hidden vulnerabilities. Medical gene therapies that weaken, not heal, over generations. Humanity might not even notice until it's too late, until we're fully dependent on corrupted biosystems. These are not just what-if scenarios. They are logical extensions of real experiments, warnings from government agencies, and papers published by leading scientists. And if we fail to prepare, the next cyber attack may not target your laptop, but the living world itself. Next, in Chapter 4, Lessons from History, we'll look back at how past technologies, from nuclear physics to the internet, spiraled out of control, and why cyberbiosecurity may be history repeating itself on a biological scale. To many, cyberbiosecurity sounds like tomorrow's science fiction. But history teaches us a sobering lesson. Every transformative technology brings risks we didn't foresee, risks that sometimes spiral out of control. 1. The nuclear parallel. Think back to the 1940s. Nuclear physics promised clean, limitless energy. But within a few years, it also gave humanity Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The same knowledge that powered light bulbs also powered mushroom clouds. And once the genie was out of the bottle, the arms race was unstoppable. Cyberbiosecurity faces a similar danger. Technologies designed to heal could just as easily be used to destroy. 2. The internet, from promise to exploitation. The early internet was built on optimism. It was meant to connect scientists, share knowledge, democratize information. Today, it's also a battlefield of viruses, ransomware, disinformation campaigns, and surveillance. What began as an academic tool became a global weapon system. And now, biology itself is moving online. Genetic data, lab automation, AI-driven drug discovery. History tells us hackers will follow wherever data flows. 3. The bioweapon experiments. In the 20th century, nations experimented with weaponizing biology. The Soviet Union's bioprepper program secretly produced tons of anthrax spores. In 1979, an accidental release in Sverdlovsk killed at least 66 people. The Japanese Unit 731 in World War II conducted horrific experiments with plague bacteria. These are stark reminders. Biology has always been tempting for warfare. Now imagine that same ambition, but turbocharged by cyber attacks and AI. 4. The lesson of unintended consequences. The pattern is clear. Nuclear physics, nuclear bombs. The internet, cyber warfare. Biology, bioweapons. And cyber biosecurity may be the next chapter. Not because scientists are malicious, but because every powerful tool can be twisted. Every system with digital roots can be hacked. As the historian Melvin Kranzberg once said, technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. Its impact depends entirely on how humans, and increasingly machines, choose to wield it. 5. Why cyberbiosecurity is different. But here's the catch. Nuclear weapons were visible. Cyberbiosecurity threats are invisible. A line of code in a DNA file, a tweak in a protein design, a Trojan horse in a medical swab. And that invisibility makes them far harder to detect and far easier to deny. History whispers a warning. Every time we've built something powerful, we've underestimated the risks. Cyberbiosecurity may be no different. Next, in Chapter 5, The Road Ahead, we'll explore how governments, scientists, and ordinary people can respond. Is there a way to defend life itself from being hacked? Or is the bio-digital frontier already too porous to control? We've seen the scenarios of doom. We've seen how history warns us. Now the question is, what can humanity do? Is cyberbiosecurity a fight we can win, or are we already too late? 1. Current safeguards. Thankfully, scientists and policymakers aren't blind to this threat. Gene sequence screening. Most DNA synthesis companies now scan orders against databases of dangerous pathogens. If someone tries to order fragments of smallpox or anthrax, red flags are raised. Lab protocols. Biosafety rules like BSL-3 and BSL for labs limit who can handle dangerous material. Access is tightly controlled and labs are monitored. Cybersecurity measures. Governments are beginning to extend cybersecurity standards into biotech. In the U.S., the Department of Homeland Security has a dedicated program on cyberbiosecurity. These are good starts, but they're patchwork, and hackers thrive on patchwork. 2. What's missing? Here's where the gaps remain. Global standards. Unlike nuclear weapons, which have international treaties, there's no global governance for bio-cyber threats. One weak link, one underfunded lab, one careless company can open the door for catastrophe. AI oversight. The rise of AI-designed proteins and drugs means we need new ethical rules. The same algorithms that discover cures can also design toxins. Supply chain security. From seed companies to hospitals, the bio-supply chain is enormous. Most small players don't have the budget for state-of-the-art cyberbiosecurity. 3. The roadmap forward. So what should we do? Here's what experts suggest. Stronger regulation. International frameworks, like the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, but for biodigital systems. AI safety protocols. All AI models that handle genetic or chemical data must include built-in safeguards against malicious misuse. Public-private partnerships. Governments, companies, and universities must work together, not in silos. Awareness and education. Just as we teach cybersecurity to employees, we must train biologists in cyberbiosecurity. Every scientist should know the risks. For what it means for us. At the deepest level, this isn't just about policy. It's about mindset. For the first time in history, humanity has blurred the line between the digital world and the biological one. We defend our data fiercely, but will we defend our DNA with the same urgency? Because in the 21st century, the hacker's new frontier isn't just your credit card number. It's your genetic code. So the road ahead is clear. Cyberbiosecurity is not optional. It is survival. Next, in Chapter 6, the Philosophy of Biofragility will go deeper. What does it mean philosophically to live in a world where even life itself can be hacked like software? We've talked about scenarios, history, and safeguards. But behind all of this lies a deeper question. If life can be hacked, what does it mean to be human? 1. Life is code. For centuries, philosophers asked, what is life? The Greeks saw it as a divine spark. Religions described it as a soul, a gift, a mystery. Scientists once defined it as metabolism, reproduction, adaptation. But in the 20th century, with the discovery of DNA, a new metaphor emerged. Life is code. For letters A, T, C, G, strung together like instructions in a cosmic computer. And now, with CRISPR and gene editing, we no longer just read the code. We can rewrite it. This is where cyberbiosecurity shakes philosophy. If life is code, then hacking life is no longer an idea. It's a reality. 2. The fragility of existence. This forces us to confront fragility in a new way. We've always known life is vulnerable to disease, famine, war. But now fragility extends down to the deepest level, the operating system of biology itself. If hackers can alter genes, if malware can corrupt DNA synthesis, then our very definition of life becomes uncertain. As philosopher Hans Jonas once warned, technology has altered the nature of human action. Our power has grown, but so has our responsibility. 3. Post-biology and human identity. Here's the profound question. If life is code, does identity change when the code changes? If your DNA is hacked and altered, are you still you? This echoes debates in philosophy of mind, transhumanism, and AI. If humans merge with machines, are we still human? If biology merges with digital systems, do we enter a post-biological age? Cyberbiosecurity doesn't just protect life. It protects identity, memory, and meaning. 4. Lessons from Buddhism and existentialism. Buddhist thought reminds us of impermanence, that clinging to fixed notions of self is an illusion. Existentialism reminds us of freedom, that meaning is something we create, not something guaranteed. Cyberbiosecurity pushes both lessons to the extreme. Impermanence isn't just natural anymore, it's hackable. Freedom to define meaning becomes urgent, because the code of life is no longer untouchable. 5. The professor's closing note. If I were to speak directly to my students, I'd say, the question is not whether life can be hacked. It can. The question is whether we, as humans, will rise to protect not just our systems, but our sense of meaning. Because in a world where life is code, biofragility is the new condition of existence. And the greatest defense may not just be technological, but philosophical. So yes, cyberbiosecurity is about firewalls and DNA scans. But it's also about who we are and what we choose to value in a world where even life itself is editable. Next, in Chapter 7, Final Reflection and Call to Action, we'll conclude this journey with a direct challenge. How do we prepare for a future where hackers may hold the code of life in their hands? We began with a chilling thought. What if hackers didn't just target our computers, but the code of life itself? We explored cyberbiosecurity, the fragile line between biology and digital systems. We saw the doomsday scenarios: hacked crops, engineered pandemics, AI-designed toxins. We traced lessons from history, how every technology carries its shadow. And we asked the hardest question: what does it mean to live when even life itself is hackable? 1. The fragile truth. The truth is simple, yet terrifying. Life is no longer untouchable. It is code, and code can be rewritten. This doesn't mean we should live in fear. It means we must live with awareness, because the real apocalypse isn't the hackers. It isn't the nanobots, the viruses, or the AI. The real apocalypse would be to ignore the lesson. 2. The human challenge. So here's the challenge I leave with you. We must defend not only our systems, but our values. We must treat biology with the same vigilance we give to our data. And we must remember, in a world where everything can be altered, the only permanence is the meaning we choose to create. If this journey opened your eyes, don't let it stop here. Back in Index Pointing Right, watch the previous video in our Apocalypse playlist, where we explored the Grey Goo scenario, when runaway nanobots consumed the world. Back in Index Pointing Right, then binge the full Apocalypse playlist, from the Dark Forest hypothesis to vacuum decay, Grey Goo, and beyond. Because the threats may be invisible, but knowledge is your defense. And here on NetraVerse, we give away the insights others guard behind paywalls, free for everyone. So like, share, comment, and subscribe, not just for the algorithm, but to spread awareness. Because in this fragile digital bio age, awareness itself is survival. The universe may end in silence, but until then, our voices, our choices, our vigilance are what make us human.